so divorced. I am so divorced. Okay, y'all. So, welcome to, wait for it, the Michelle Majors Show. So many things I've decided to change since I am now liberated. I am divorced. I'm divorced. And the first thing that I'm doing is I am consolidating all these parts of myself, right? So there's Rojo, there's Majors Leadership Group, and lots of changes there, and just lots of changes in who I am. No more compartmentalizing. I am who I am. There's one Michelle. I do lots of different things, and I've been spending a lot of time figuring out, well, how do I talk about, or how do I bring all these things together? Because I felt like I post on Rojo on Monday, and then on Wednesday I do my Majors Leadership post and all that. So there's going to be some changes in how I, like everything is one thing now. Now, full transparency, I haven't quite figured out the smoothest way to do that, but what I do know is Substack is going to stay the same. It will no longer be, while Rojo is still a thing, all of my podcasts, all of that is going to be the Michelle Majors Show. So my podcast will be one thing, but I still have all these different businesses that I still need to figure out how to merge in a way that makes sense. But I am slowly trying to just move everything into one conversation. And part of the reason why I did that was just because I'm one person. I'm not, Rojo in me is not different than my conflict stuff, my leadership stuff in me. It's all the same. And it's just been a lot of work to try to make them different things. So that's definitely going to happen. And quite honestly, I'm just in this space of like, I want my life to be as streamlined and as easy as possible, no matter what that looks like. So it's interesting how I've been doing my life in a way where it's all these different aspects of myself, and I've been putting myself in, harm. And what I mean by that is it's wearing on my body to try to have these different aspects of myself. I had a client last week in Boston, and I was honest about my divorce. And we talked about the divorce, and we talked about how we compartmentalize our lives, where I could come in here and pretend like everything's perfect when it's not. And we talked about my divorce and the impact, and other people started sharing, yeah, I remember I went through divorce and it was hard. And we became humans and not like facilitator and attorneys. And we just were humans dealing with life in a moment. That is how we grow trust. That is how we connect with one another. So then when we mess up and there's conflict and we make mistakes, we're not talking to a coworker. We're talking to, oh, that's Claire. She's going through a divorce. I know what that's like. I mean, there's just this human element that is all of my work, right? And so that is happening. There is so much to talk about as it relates to this divorce. And I haven't quite figured out where to start. And part of the thing that is going on is that, yes, I am divorced, and there's still some conversations that need to get cleared up about the terms of the divorce, like what is what. Just some confusing things that my attorneys want to get clear about, moving forward, because there are financial implications, there are other implications that are involved in that clarity. So they're still working that out. So I'm still not feeling like 100% ready to talk about all the details, because some of those are still being worked out. But what I can say, oh my God, I am free. Now, one of those implications happens to be the house still. There's still stuff being worked out around that. But once I was just like, the sky's the limit, everything just kind of changed, right? So one of the changes is, how can I make my life more efficient and more me, and more, I don't want to be in situations where I have to suppress this or not be that or not be fully that, or I just want to be able to say what I want to say and be free in doing so. And so I'm super particular about my time and about naming the things that I want, even if people are like, ooh. So I'm going to give you an example. Hold on, y'all. Let me see this. Okay. When I traveled, not this last time, but right before that, I said, I'll come. We're setting up my flight. And I didn't know how to say I want a first class ticket. And that was like a big deal. Like, I didn't want to sing. This is a nonprofit. I don't want all of the things in my head about that. And the reality is, since this past election, I've had 2 instances with people on planes where it's just not what I'm used to. I'll just say that, right? It wasn't like violent. There wasn't any physical harm done or anything like that. But I'm like, oh, that's different. So there's this emboldened kind of nastiness that people have. And I was like, it's less likely that happens in those 10 seats up there. Let's see, 2, 4, 6. Okay, yeah. In those 8 to 10 seats in first class. Doesn't happen. It's less likely. And that was part of the reason. But the other reason is, wait for it, I want to fly first class. When I fly from Seattle to the East Coast and I'm in a plane for 6 hours, I do not want that smaller seat. I want to sit down. I want to sit down first. And while I'm sitting, I want people to say, hey, you want some water while you wait? Like, I want those things. And oh my God, it wasn't even the reaction that I got from any of my clients. It was my hesitation about just asking for that. For a long time, I've had plane anxiety, and it's, for a while it was pretty intense. And so when I'm sitting up front, when I'm sitting more comfortably, when I'm placed more comfortably, I just have less anxiety. Back in the back, when there's 3 people on top of you, and I always get a window seat, right? And there's less people to say, can I go to the bathroom? Excuse. Now I'm like, because I want to, because that's the experience I want when I fly. And, people have all their things. We have so much stuff around people who ask for things that seem opulent or whatever. You'll get over it. People will get over it. People will get over it. And if you don't like that, then that's okay. I need to be okay with you being not okay with my choice or my decision, right? And I know that it's, so that's just an example. I'll just leave it there. That's just an example of how people will get over things. We conjure them up in our head as a thing. Do you know that people don't really care about or think about us that way? All my anxiety about, I have to post every day, every Monday at 3 o'clock, because people are waiting their whole lives. They're waiting for me for my posts. Are you? Like, when 3 o'clock comes around on a Monday, are you like, where's Michelle's post? What the hell? It's insanity. It's the way that we obsess about ourselves is way over the top. So less obsession, more asking for what it is I want. If you don't like it, it's okay. So that's just an example of like me starting to be like, no, this is what I want. And I am going to start asking. The other thing that is coming up for me as I'm making this big transition into the Michelle Major show, right? The reality is we're all the star of our own show, right? Not in a way that's a negative way, but we all live in a this is my perception. I'm not speaking as a theorist here. My own personal theory is we're all the main character of our show around us. There's me And then my ex was a character, my old boss was a character, my sister's a character. All of these characters are centered around us. So you're living your own show. As much as we don't really like to say, oh, it's the Michelle Major show. What other show am I going to star in? And why would I star in somebody else's show? Like, it is the Michelle Major show. It's the Susie show. It's the Kiana show. It's the Tori show. It's the show of people around us and or of ourselves, right? It's our show. And so it's about being responsible for that and really designing a show that is worthy of my humanity, of your humanity. And so, yeah, if I'm going to create the Michelle Major show, what is this show about? Is the show interesting? Does it bring life forward? Does it make people better? Or is it to some degree it's a reality show, but is it some reality show that just sells tickets? The whole point is to get eyes and viewers, right? So that is part of why I named the show, or my new podcast, The Michelle Major Show. Also because I'm streamlining, and so my socials are going to be Michelle Majors, all the things, because all the different names is making things more cumbersome. So let me go back a little bit to my divorce, and then I'll come back. This divorce, again, I can't fully talk about it, but it was very hard because of the way the divorce happened. Now that I'm divorced, what I can say is he knows nothing about Rojo. My ex knows nothing about this place in Belize. Belize was always our dream. And while I filed for divorce in May of 2025, it is now June of 2026, okay? During the last year, it's been back and forth with, him filing things and doing things. He wants me out of the house and all of these other things that he was just doing. So there were things, so I was always vigilant of what I would say, because he had this attorney that would come back and forth, pop up as attorney of record. He'll hop in and be like, hey, I'm your attorney now. And we would be going down the track to get ready for a hearing. And then this attorney would pop in as, oh, I'm the attorney on record. So now my attorney has to now correspond with him instead of with my ex, right? And so they were just sloppy and haphazard and doing their thing. I don't know what their relationship was based on, but I do have a theory, and I got to wait till the end after this final part that we're working on finishes. But it was just really, really weird. And so because it was so weird, I couldn't tell about a whole place I had on the island. His attorney was a shark. He was so, oh my God, I cannot describe what a not good person he was, and not great attorney he was. He has prior suspensions from the bar. He's just a snake. Oh, it was bad. It was bad. So even in the questioning where, I was being cross-examined by him, he was just so like a liar to the 10th degree, just throwing stuff out of his mouth. So he would throw stuff out of his mouth in public record. And then we would say, here's the documents, here's the text messages, here's the proof that what you're saying is wrong. And he would never go back and say, clean it up or anything. He would just pivot to another lie. I've never seen somebody who was so unethical to the 10th degree of like complete disregard for truth, for honesty, for anything good. This guy, it was just bad. So because that was his attorney on and off, I couldn't say publicly. So all of the stuff on the people on my Rojo Substack channel are people that I handpicked, that I know. They're not just wide open to just anybody who wants to join, because I didn't know if he'd have his legal team friend in me and looking at all the stuff. Because there's a lot of stuff that I talk about in the divorce. There's a lot of stuff I talked about the island and my place of peace. There's a lot of stuff I'm talking about the new book that's coming out about it. So I was like, yeah, this is not going to be great. So it was a whole bunch of stuff that was going on, and now I don't have to worry so much about it. Home stretch, y'all, home stretch. Where we left off last time was we just had this trial. And I said, my attorney, he really did a number. I mean, you can't tell, he eviscerated my ex and his attorney. It was so bad. It was just, they were sloppy. They didn't know how to get their stuff right. And my attorney, he was crisp. He was clear. He was focused. His voice never went up. It never went down. He was steady. He asked questions, and he would set up my ex with these questions, and then boom, some big question where my ex would just fall into the trap every time, answer the question, and they would just look ridiculous, right? So after all of the things that we went through, all of that, we felt like, okay, we're in a good space. I also told you that we were right at this point where I thought we were going to have to settle, but we were like, no, we're not settling. So we went through the trial. We were supposed to go back. We go back last Thursday, not this Thursday, but Thursday, the 18th, where the judge, all there's left to do is the judge to say, here's the division, here's what it's going to look like, here's what's going to happen. That Tuesday before, we had to have everything in to say, this is what we want. Any final, like, who gets the coffee maker, who gets the couch, like that was the final things that we had to divide. And anything that we wanted the judge to consider in his final ruling, that was due on Tuesday. In preparation for Thursday. Tuesday happened. Of course, we got our stuff in. The opposing counsel gets theirs in Thursday at 2:00 in the morning. And he submits all of this junk, so many documents, so many this. And he did it that way. And this is the first time that I'm like, oh, this is not some Keystone Cop operation. This is strategy. He slipped back all of the things that we said that we had thrown out. He had slipped all that stuff right back in, all of that flurry of documents at the 11th hour. We're thinking, okay, well, I mean, is this judge going to accept this at 2:00 in the morning, the day of, when it was due on Tuesday? Is that going to, I can't say that he took it all in and made a decision on it. But what he did do is say, I can't give my final verdict today. I'm not prepared. There's a lot more here to think about and think through. So I can't give it today. Friday was Juneteenth, so didn't get a ruling then. Monday, this past Monday, almost a week ago, we got the ruling, and there were 2 documents attached. One was all the information about the terms and all the stuff, but the other one was the dissolution papers, like you are officially divorced. And I can't tell you the relief I felt about being officially divorced. However, the terms were pretty like, wait, what happened? What is this? I was gutted. I was tired. And I told my attorney, I don't want to do anything else. Because he said, if we don't like what this judge says, we can always file what's called a motion for reconsideration. That means we got to go back and file some things and say, hey, look, now we want you to consider these things in this judgment. I say, I'm not filing no motions. I'm not doing nothing. I don't want to. And of course, Damien, no one else. I can't wait till he's on my podcast, honey. Damien was like, I think we should. I really do think that we should file this motion. And he really just kind of convinced me, like, look, we already got this verdict. It's not going to get worse. And he's convinced that it's not a bad judging decision. It's a miscalculation. It's a mathing miscalculation. And he, gave me a few, examples of why he thought that, and it made sense. And of course, Damien has never, not once, not ever failed us and led us wrong. So that is what, we're going to do that. So it's just going to take a minute. I don't know how long before we submit the motion for reconsideration to when the judge gets back and what that really gets back to us and what that means. But, we feel at this point, it's just the final step that we can do that is part of our process, right? It's part of the process that we have access to be able to make sure that we get the best bang for, the best end result. And we have fought a clean, strong fight the whole time. We're like, we might as well utilize whatever resource we have to make sure that we get the best decision at the end. And that's what we're going to do. And that's why we still can't, I'm not 100% done. So, I'm still going through it to some degree, but ask me if I care. Anyone? You? I don't. I care to the extent that, I would love the best outcome, but because I'm so settled and so happy and so free that this person I'm not in any way legally connected to this person. I'm not in any way, his decisions have nothing to do with me. That is why I'm like, wow. So that's it, right? That's it. And so, listen, y'all, what I can say is that this was one of the most life-altering decisions. This person was literally my greatest teacher. I mean, I've had some teachers that were like, I've learned some good lessons. But this person, when you stare in the face of somebody who just lies, the sky's red. It looks blue. Oh, honey, come on. Blue. It's clearly red. I swear it looks blue. And I'm sitting here like, hold on, let me go check my little degree. It does say, okay, I do have some education. Okay. Let me make sure. No more sanity checks. No more asking busted, raggedy questions in my life. Well, what does he mean? What is that about? It was all about survival. Now the questions I'm asking is, okay, what do I want? Okay, yeah. What I want this time is to move way more light. I want to be more nimble on my feet. I want to be more free in the decisions that I make. I do not want to have to consider somebody else and what they're going to do, what they're going to not do, what they're going to, all of that. And I don't mind considering somebody else if this person has my best interest at heart. But I'm considering him because I have to stay ahead and counteract all of his actions, and because he will lie. It is not a question if, it is only when and about what. Narcissists. And here's the thing I can tell you. We got this house during the pandemic. I'm a business owner. He is not. So when it came time to let's get this house, all he had to do was submit his W-2, some taxes, and a couple of bank statements. I had all this other stuff that I had to do, but I was getting ready to do it. In the process of doing that, the interest rate dropped from 2.75 interest rate to 3.25. And at that point, it was like, let's just move on this. Add me later. Let's move on this. We'll add me to the deed and the loan. We'll do all that later. Right now, we just need to lock this in. That was the reason why I fought for a year. Because he was like, this isn't her house. Look, her name's nowhere. She was never interested in getting this house. I got this house. My bank statement's my bank account. So I'm like, here's my bank statement. See, here's the text message where you say, go get this money out and give it to our real estate guy. And then here's the matching bank statement that shows that day the exact amount of money that you told me to get into the house. He put it in writing that everything that I had nothing to do with, everything. And then when we busted and said, well, here's the thing, then he goes, well, he changes the target, right? So it was about, well, we weren't in a committed relationship like that. We didn't even have sex that much. So now I have his attorney asking me, well, how many times did you have sex in the year? Did you consummate your marriage? All these personal questions, right? All of that because I said, let's just get the interest rate. That is why all of this happened. So his whole thing is my house, my house, my house. And we both put in, I put in $12,600, he put in $12,800 to get this house. And he bought that TV right there. That's it. This chair, these shades right here, the not a spoon. He bought a TV since he's been in this house, y'all. And he's saying, get out of my house. I want her out of my house. And you can get this and don't get that. And he bought that TV right there. So to fight and to have somebody for a year and then in the 3 days of trial say, she had nothing to do with this. She wasn't even really committed to this house. I wanted this house. I did this all. I did it. Basically, his assertion was I was pretty much a tenant that with fringe benefits. And I'm like, you tell me what tenant will renovate a $38,000 backyard. You tell me what tenant works with the HOA and helps raise your son. You tell me what tenant does that. So part of this thing has been all about like proving that I was a somebody. Do you know how disorienting it is to sit there with somebody, look you, a judge, his attorney, my attorney, anybody? He's even, telling people she's in my house. My house. When we went to mediation, the mediator was like, he's never going to be able to get a house like this ever again. Because it was a lightning in a bottle situation. There was this window of time, just a short little opportunity where he had the income, he had the credit, and he had somebody to finance and underwrite all of it. And it happened in this. So he struck in that moment. He's never had the same income. He's never had the credit. And now he doesn't have. So having a house like this and having this life is unlikely that will happen again. And that is what he's fighting for. And so it's been hard in these ways where you can't really talk about it, but you know it and you feel it and it's real and it's exhausting. So now as I move forward, I'm finally getting a chance to talk about it. So my book, I'm Leaving Now, The Breakup and the Becoming, is being written. I've already written about 80% of the book, but I wrote it in the early stages of the divorce. So many changes. For example, when I started, I was like, I'm sitting on an island here in Belize. I am divorced. I've been divorced 25 days. He doesn't know about this island. He doesn't know about this apartment I have here. He doesn't know that he's divorced. And he doesn't even know that the house he's sitting in this moment, the judge has declared it's my house. So I decided I'm going to go ahead and sit on an island when they serve him the papers that notifies him. I don't even want to be there. But after that, the judge overturned it. So I was remarried again. I didn't even know that was a thing. It's a lot. So that's it for now, y'all. This is just this week. I don't know what it's going to be next week. And that's the great part. So have a good rest of your week. And I will talk to you next Monday.
I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you have, please like, share, comment, subscribe, do all the things you know to do on the socials, and we'll see you next time.